Those guys are hard to find, though. Those 6'9", 320 pounders that can bend like those guys can. They don't grow those guys on trees, so we're trying. Just take the next step, in terms of being consistent, in terms of being a solid decision maker with the football in his hand. We're going to ask him to do some more things at the line of scrimmage in regards to we talk about changing plays, diagnosing what the defense is playing and getting us into what could be a more successful play. And then I'm looking for him to be a guy that in the moments where we need a play to be made, that he steps up and makes that play. That's what great ones do. And he's certainly got the potential. He just needs to go out and do it. And I'm confident that he will.
When you, I don't know if you how much
you ever go out?
They're always different. I have a pretty long history with Josh. And we have a great relationship. And I'm very close to his family. We're neighbors. So sometimes they're, rather casual, and sometimes they're rather intense. It kind of depends on the circumstance. When he posts something on Twitter at the Trump golf course, and they're rather serious.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but they're always different. I would say that there's a common theme throughout all of our discussions. It's one of affection and respect, and trust, and he knows that I have his best interest in mind, and I believe that he trusts me.
Did he spend any more time at your house this summer?
Well, I don't know if you guys met my daughter Lillian or things like that, but Lillian and Josh are as thick as thieves, so they're together a lot. And he's been over. Been over a few times, right? Yeah, he comes over, hangs out. I haven't been there as much as he's been there. I try to stay away from it. We were supposed to be at the same house on 4th of July, and when I found out he was there, I stayed away. So I didn't want to cramp his style. But I just make sure Lillian takes care of it. She watches over him.
I know you're addressed the whole Trump thing. Why is that such a big deal?
Where did you guys get together?
I don't know if it's a big deal for us guys, other than I think that our student athletes have a responsibility to represent their team, their teammates, their families, their universities, UCLA, in a classy and dignified manner. I think when you use a vulgar term like that, it's not doing that. Yeah, but I also think that as I said in there, UCLA has a long history of social activism. Bill Walton and who else in the but
low key.
I know, but I think that you want your young people to be able to express their individuality, but do it responsibly. And you're always trying to teach him lessons. And for Josh, he likes to be, and when you talk about the thing with Under Armour, he likes to be an advocate for those on our team that maybe are less fortunate than him. And he has to measure that against what the public perception of him is, how it affects our university, and how it affects his future. He had a great discussion with Les Snead, the general manager of the Rams, after that. Les is a good friend of mine, and Les told him, Josh, we look at all that. And if we're going to draft you to be the face of our franchise, we're going to want to know before we give you $40 million that you're going to do it in the right way. And so all those are indicators of what the future may hold. So he's just got to make sure that he's making good decisions. And it's not always easy for these kids. I have 4 kids. Their attention span sometimes is out of the mat. And it's like that. There's always this. And sometimes you need to teach them to take a breath and think about it before you talk. I told Josh, I said about 70%, maybe 8% of the owners are Republicans, and you just their candidate. So don't think they're not going to remember that. Yeah, and he understands. He's a young man that is growing up, and it's not let me say this too. That they're going to make mistakes. And it's part of growing up. We all did. The thing is to try to help them learn how to not make the fatal error. You know, the one that they can never recover from. Saying something or doing something that offends such a large majority of the population or is illegal, that they can never recover from. He wasn't? I was told that he
He was pretty low key as far as
Really? Well, what Josh said is as low key as it gets. I mean, it's not like, you know, he offended anybody. He did it as a joke. So, but still, there's an impact there. You know, he has to realize that he's become a public figure of some sort.
you see the response was saying he brought up the question of how much football player afford.
I
saw that one and laughed.
Yeah, we need to do some background checks on his family.
I have.
Yeah. He's not going to be ready for the game. He's just not. He had to have surgery.
Is there a chance he could play this season?
No, I don't think so.
What went into the chance of the interview? You know everyone wants to know about that.
You know, Tracy, I try to stay in tune with what people want. I mean, I do. I think it's important that we represent, you know, the alums in our university and those that care about our program the way they want to be represented. One of the issues has always been the color of the jersey and the shoulder stripe and the shine of the pants. And so, you know, we finally found a way to address those issues. And we did. You know, I think the uniforms are great. The shoulder stripe is just about as good as you can get it with, you know, with technology today. The shine on the pants is better. The blue has been softened. Our players love the look. I love the look. I think it's traditional. We put the TV numbers back on the shoulders, and I love the uniform. I've always been a traditionalist, and to me, it's as traditional as you can get in this day and age with the uniform.
How many times did you hear the saying shoulder stripes?
I hope I never hear it again. I like that, finally. Yeah. We're going to have an alternate. It's going to be a navy blue, but it's really going to be the same structure. I think the number font might be a little bit different. We have blue pants, but it'll still have a traditional look to it.
Jim, when you
Go ahead.
look at UCLA, what jumps out at you when you watch them?
Well, we have to watch ourselves to watch A&M's offense now, with Noel's down there. But defensively, you know, they're big and they're physical, like most SEC teams. You know, they grow big men down there, and they play a physical brand of football, and they're very athletic. It'll be a heck of a challenge, and I think it's one that we're really looking forward to. It'll test us.
A lot of people have mentioned Myles Garrett as that #1 overall pick. What have you seen from him?
I haven't watched him enough specifically to be able to answer that. We've just done general scheme evaluations. We haven't really gone into particulars of each player at this point in time.
Do you feel yourself kind of like a chess master because Noel's on the other side that you got to react?
You know, probably a little bit, but you know, we just have to do the best job we can of preparing our players, and they'll go out and they'll play as hard as they can. Hopefully, we can make enough plays to win. That was a great coach speak answer. Wasn't it? You were
Checked all the boxes
did I check them all?
I mean, mid-season form
That was
already.
a great one right there. Sorry about that. It's the best I could do.
Has he fully moved on from that health issue, or is that something that he has?
Who's that? Noel?
Yeah.
Seems to have. I was in contact with him 2 weeks ago. He seems pretty healthy. Yeah. Seems like he's doing well. I hope he is.
How often do you laugh at yourself?
Quite often. Yeah, quite often. You know, I try to give guys the best answer I can give without getting myself in trouble, which has been a tendency I've had over the years. So, yeah.
Going back to Josh on social media, for you as someone who has history in the NFL, if you saw a potential draft pick with that kind of history on social media, what would you think as someone who could draft this guy?
With Josh, nothing yet, because this is benign. He's posted 3 things. You know, 3 things, and if you're going to call them controversial on the scale of what's controversial and what's not, they're on the very low end of the scale. So, but they are red flags, and it's great that, you know, we're able to address it with him now, so that it doesn't become something that hampers his ability to go earn a living at the next level. But he hasn't offended. Well, I'm sure he offended Donald Trump, but he really hasn't offended anybody, and he won't. I really truly believe that he's learned his lessons and that he understands his responsibility. I think he understands the consequences of everything that he says and he does. We'll see going forward. I'm sure at some point in time there'll be another hiccup with one of our players, but we'll do the best we can to make sure that it's done.
Is there a concern that you did run into though, as during your NFL career, someone posted something on social media specifically?
You know what? I haven't been in the NFL since 2010, and things have accelerated so fast in the world since 2010. I don't remember us really. I think Facebook, maybe we used Facebook, but I don't know that many of the players did. So it really wasn't an issue. Now in recruiting, we're very conscious of it. We want to see how these kids are living and what they're saying, what their thought process is, and the decisions that they're making. So, for me, it's always about trying to figure out. Instagram was great because I could always see where my players are. Now none of them are on Instagram. Now they're on Snapchat. So Lily's trying to teach me how to use Snapchat. It's just trying to keep up with them. I don't know how.
How many students do you have on staff that monitor?
I kind of do. I like to see it. The reason I do it is I tell the players this, and they understand it. They believe it. Is I'm not looking over them, trying to find out if they're doing something wrong. I'm trying to look out for them, so that if they do post something or they do say something, that I can get to them before it becomes too big an issue. So hey, whoa, we need to delete that, or we need to rethink that, or you need to have an answer for why you said that. Just try to protect them in that way, knowing that they're probably going to make a mistake. No, the Snapchat I do. I'm not good at the Snapchat, and I don't know what's coming next. They probably are 3 steps ahead of me. That's what her and Jayon are probably down there doing right now.
You've got a facility coming. You've got a facility coming about a year.
May.
How much does that affect the security?
It's been a positive for us, because there's a structure in place, and there's a building, there's a frame, and so it's not just a concept, it's a reality. And so when recruits come on campus, they can see it. And we can show them the renderings, but they can also see the structure. So it's impactful.
I'm going to text me next week, like, why are you walking?
No, 280-yard drills, which is enough.
He is a funny guy.
When you practice, you rarely use 100 yards. We've got more than enough room, and we've got a beautiful campus with an amazing facility. We've got a grass field that's the same grass as what we play on at the Rose Bowl. We've got a turf field that matches most of the teams in the Pac-12. So it'll be hard to beat our facility once it's completed.
Coach, you were supposed to get Jake Rollerson as a graduate transfer. Obviously, he didn't get in. How does that affect what you're planning for the offensive line? And does that change your mind on the whole graduate transfer process at all?
Well, I was disappointed. This is a young man that was admitted to Stanford and Michigan, so he's obviously a student graduated from Texas in 3 years with a 3.4. But we couldn't, find a way to get him into UCLA, and that was disappointing because, we were depending on him, and we recruited him hard. He was part of our recruiting class, so it changes the dynamics of our offensive line dramatically. He's a veteran player that we were counting on to help us, but that's the way it goes. And especially in the public school system here in California, you have to be prepared for those things. And so we'll just adjust, and someone will step up and play well for us.
Does that change your view on the whole graduate transfer process at all?
In what respect?
Well, I mean, last year you weren't really looking for any hired guns when it came to quarterback.
Yeah.
Did it kind of sour your view on graduate transfers?
No. We're still not looking to populate our team with graduate transfers. I mean, we still like to recruit and kind of groom our own. But Jake was special. He was unique. He fit our profile. He was the right kind of kid. Great young man, tremendous skill, leader, good player, great citizen. So it's disappointing that he wasn't accepted into our school and into our program. But it's something we have to deal with. When you're dealing with a school like UCLA where the academic standards are so high, you take a chance when you try to get good graduate transfers.
How happy are you with the depth on the O-line now?
I don't think I'll ever be completely satisfied. You know, it's a work in progress. It always will be. You know, we've had some guys leave early that hurt our depth, or what we thought would be our depth. We've got some young guys that hopefully can come in and step up and do well. Hopefully, you know, ideally you wouldn't want to have to test the depth too much. You know, your starters can stay healthy, and you can work with those guys, because I feel good about our starters.
Connor called Colton his mini-me.
Mini-me?
Apparently he's bigger than...
Colton's bigger than you. What do you weigh now?
310.
You guys picked any of those. But, you know, if Colton can grow into someone like Connor, what would that happen?
You know what? I think that he is growing into that. I really do. As the year went on last year, he became a really good football player. This offseason, you know, I think this. I hope I'm accurate. If I'm not, Sal will let me know. But I think that Colton squatted 600 pounds at 6'9", which is amazing because he can really bend. But hey, Connor, did Colton squat 600?
5 something.
5 what? 599?
Can't remember.
Okay.
You couldn't pack on that one extra?
But a lot. But he's a really good athlete. And we've got 2 really good tackles. And you know, you're always looking for at tackles length. And we've got length. You know, and hopefully they can protect the edges. Then we've got to be able to hold up inside. And you know what you'll see with us is when a guy needs help on the offensive line, is we'll give him help with backs or tight ends. You know, that's part of moving more to a little bit more traditional things on offense, is the ability to